What up, High and Wide fam and listeners on the game 102.9? Thanks for joining us again for another episode of Midnight Misconduct. I'm Delco Dave. I'm joined by Paul, and sneaking in just under the wire, Derek jumps on as the intro video is playing. Derek, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. I saw that pop up and I'm like, all right, just in time.
Yeah, me and Paul were bullshitting a little bit. We're just about to get started. Caught him up on everything with the business and stuff too that you and I talked about. So
Right.
he's aware of what's going on with that stuff. Dude, Derek, double duty tonight, man. I had a college show too. I had a college football show while you were doing Pod Street, man. So
So yeah, I originally I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. I don't think I've got it in me anymore. But I'm like, you know what? Filled up on my drinks and I'm all set.
nice. Is everything okay with the wife? You said you had to console her.
The yeah, putting the kids to bed is not fun these days. And I could hear there if you listen close enough sometimes on like the Pod Street show, you'll hear my son screaming because he doesn't want to go to bed. So it's always fun in the Bob house right around 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I almost texted you like directly to make sure everything was okay, but then I was like, if he's willing to do a second show, I feel like it can't be a major problem.
Oh no.
Yeah.
She had it was a snow day today and
Oh,
the kid was home from daycare, so she had both of the kids. And I mean it's hard for anybody, mom, dad, single with, husband or wife. Yeah, it's nuts. But one kid, our oldest, our son, isn't the greatest listener, which no 4-year-old really is, but it's an interesting day to hear about when I get home.
gosh. Paul, how you doing tonight, man?
Good. I'm the slacker here. No double duty for me. No kids. But good to be with you guys again. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, glad we got back to it. Yeah, this is back-to-back days for two shows for me. So I love doing this stuff though. I enjoy it so much. Like this is like how I decompress, just like talking, talking sports, talking
It's like a
hockey.
therapy session.
Yeah,
Right.
it's nice. It's always fun doing the show with Dave too. It's it's been inconsistent this season because he's so busy. He's involved, like he's either like head of NHL and head of officiating or head of player safety in like 3 different leagues, and then he does the ESPN stuff too, and he runs and he works another job too. So like sometimes like Dave's just like it's not gonna happen this week. I'm like, all right, man,
Right.
I got you, no problem.
Busy life, man. Busy life.
Yeah, so Derek, I was going to start with getting Paul's opinion on the trade deadline since me, you, and Jack talked about it a lot yesterday. I was going to
Right.
give, no, Paul, what's like your ideal deadline? Like, what are you thinking? Jack, he said last night that, he understands the assignment and that we should absolutely be sellers regardless of where we're at. But what's your thoughts, just overall macro thoughts on the deadline?
I feel like I tend to agree with Jack more often than not. And I think we're in the same boat here. It's we talked about it before. I still am rooting for them. I would be first one to be looking for tickets to a playoff game. I'd love them to get in. They've been so much fun to watch. But the big picture is the big picture, and I think ultimately it's going to be better for them if they can ship out a couple guys or at least not be buyers of like short-term contracts or anything. If they're going to buy, it's got to be a hockey trade or some type of guy like Drysdale, where it's a young player that can help them for the future. I think ideally, I'd be hoping. Ideally, I'd like Ristolainen to be moved somehow. Maybe Walton. Thing is, like the guys they're going to move, I think they can still compete for a playoff spot if they move them. They're not. I don't see them trading Konechny or something. I don't want them to trade Konechny. Anybody like that. It'd be guys like Walker, Walton, maybe Ristolainen. Probably not. I think Walker is probably the most likely one, maybe the only one, to be honest. I think Walton will have a lot of interest, but he's got another year on his deal too. He'll be a commodity next year. But if they can get another first round pick, maybe 2, I'd be pretty happy with that. And I think you have guys that can fill a role. Walton's been stepping up his game, which only helps the Flyers, whether he stays or gets traded. And Walker's been solid still. Ristolainen's doing his job, but I think they're all guys that can be replaced too. They have some depth on those kind of roles. So I think they're not going to fall out of the wild card contention if they move these guys either. And the long term, it's probably the better move. So, they got on that 5-game losing streak. It made it seem like it was going to be an easy call for them, and then they came right back winning. Makes it tough again. But I think Danny and Torts and everyone's pretty aligned with the plan, and that seems to be selling.
Yeah, that those 3 names you listed were the 3 names that we talked about in depth. Like everybody seems to be on the page that those are the 3 that can be moved. I feel like Konechny has proven that he's a player you build around, not somebody you trade away, regardless of where he ends up. But I think he's somebody who's proven that he should be here for a while. That's my personal thoughts on Konechny.
I agree there.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul.
There.
So, I mean, I see the term like build around. Like typically when you think build around, you're thinking like the superstars, the McKinnons, the Matthews, the McDavids. Like Konechny's not that. Like he is a great player. Don't get me wrong. No slight to him. Like we talked about it on the show earlier tonight for Pod Street and said that, you can certainly build around him, but this team, the way it's constructed, you're not supplementing like a perennial Stanley Cup playoff team where they're supplementing with, third, fourth line guys to fill out the roster. You need to supplement it with high-end talent. And, we talked about it in the sense of like the Philadelphia being a destination now because they're a good young team on the up and up, but supplementing that with like elite level talent, you only add to it when you've got a guy like Konechny who can be a great winger to maybe a top line center, to maybe someone else on the opposite wing of him, bringing in another guy to make a top heavy lineup, but like someone that can play on the top line with him and then Couturier at center, or if the person, that comes in as a center, whoever it is playing wing with him, whether it's Farabee, Atkinson, in the future, Forrester, Michkov. I don't want to throw Brink's name in there. He's not a top line guy, but you see him on the second line, maybe like those types of things. I think, I definitely would like Konechny to be a part of the build, not necessarily like the centerpiece of the build, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. Like you said, I mean, typically you want to build around a center, maybe a number 1 defenseman. You don't typically see it being built around wingers. And if they are, it needs to be in the Kucherov type level. And Tampa obviously they had Stamkos and now they point to. So yeah, it's hard to say necessarily build around him, but at the same time, and I know the arguments for trading him. If you're planning on being in a contending window in 2 years or so, he's hitting 30 around then, people start falling off. You never know, but at the same time, you're going to get to that point and be looking for a winger like Konechny to help your team. And with the way he's bought in and improved under Torts, the culture he's providing and leadership for the guys, I feel like it just opens up more problems if you trade him. Even if you're getting a nice package back, I'd rather keep him and keep it going and have him be one of the leaders of a contending team down the road.
Right.
Yeah, so I think you guys just didn't like that I used the term build around. So, but I agree with what you guys said, that you build around superstars. That's your build team. What I kind of envision for Konechny is like what Chris Kunitz was to Sidney Crosby when they were winning those cups. That's the guy. You need guys that can play with superstars, and that's something that Kunitz, excelled at. I think that's a role Konechny could fill for the Flyers when we bring in the superstars. So I'm not necessarily saying he's the franchise piece, but I think he's the guy that you need in those kind of builds.
Right. Absolutely. Like you see for a long stretch of time, you saw Sidney Crosby basically develop wingers to the Kunitz type, like the level. Like, I mean, hell, guys like Teddy Bluger, I'm trying to Gensel, like obviously Gensel was, I think, of a higher pedigree, if you want to call it that, than, a Kunitz or a Bluger. He's much more talented, not a slight on either of those guys, but like Crosby himself and his presence helped develop those types of players. Like Konechny's already developed. Like he could certainly get better, absolutely, with better complementary pieces on that line. But like you're talking a fully developed player who could potentially end up topping 80 points if he has a guy like that on the same line as him, because they're going to generate better chances. Konechny's either going to get the feed or set the guy up. Like you're talking points out the wazoo if that's what's going to happen. So I mean, it could only help at this point because Konechny really is the superstar on the team at this point, and giving us another superstar to play with him on the same line, again, whether that's opposite wing or whether that's center, could only boost those point totals every year, and hopefully, in addition, the wins too.
Yeah, and no team. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
I was just gonna say I think Konechny, I think it's a better player than Kunitz was too. I like what he's done is pretty impressive. This team is not supposed to be as good as they are, and we probably undersold it. There's some more talent than we thought maybe, but at the same time, he's carrying a lot of weight there. I think Kunitz, I agree with you that you want Konechny to be that kind of guy that's complimentary on the top line. But at the same time, I think Konechny's kind of being the all-star and the leader, carrying guys forward, making guys better. And hopefully you can get him a center at some point that leads, because ultimately I don't think he's like the elite talent. He's absolutely an all-star and he's elite for the Flyers. Right. But yeah, I think he's not necessarily a franchise player, but still should be part of the solution because he is playing awesome and he's really talented.
Yeah, and you don't see teams win Stanley Cups with just one guy. Like you need more. So to expect Konechny to carry this team that far, I think is unreasonable. But he's definitely somebody that is, like you said, part of the solution. He should be part of the future. I think it would have to be a heck of a return for me to want to see Konechny go at the deadline. I think he's definitely somebody you hold on to, and is somebody that is part of the future of this franchise.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if you trade him, you end up trading him for. It's most likely going to be picks or prospects if you trade Konechny, right? It's probably not going to be a hockey trade.
Right.
I mean, you have to hit on those picks then. You get 3-4 years down the road when the Flyers are hopefully in a contending window and you have these first-round picks you got for Konechny busting and Konechny's putting up 80 points over in, I don't know, St. Louis or something. You're like, why don't we have Travis Konechny? Why don't we have a player like that right now? And obviously those first-round picks can become stars, and you're like, we could have had two great guys. But you have a player here who can be part of the solution in a couple of years. He's still going to be good. You have a guy who's bought into Torts' mentality, and he's leading guys. I think it just opens up more problems to move him unless it's really a home run package.
Yeah, and Tortorella, I think, is the key to all this. Obviously, the front office is great, but Tortorella came in with a plan to change the culture and the climate and the attitude. And we've touched on it little by little, but I think he's absolutely done that. And I'm not saying this team couldn't have been successful without him, but I think he is even more so than the players on the ice. You always say, coaches coach with players that wants to make plays, but I'm not sure this team is where it's at without Tortorella. If there was any other coach, I'm not sure it would have worked. He was the right coach for the job. They got the right guy in, I think. Your guys, Derek, go to you. Your overall thoughts on Tortorella and what he's done to set up not just this season, but overall long-term success. Like losing is something that can set into a team and an organization. I think Tortorella's turned that all the way around.
Right. We saw it. I mean, we saw losing set in when, Hackstall was coach. It was a loser culture. Like, I don't like using that term, but like it really was, every other year you're making the playoffs just to get bounced in the first round. Like that's not Flyers hockey to any of us. It doesn't matter what generation you're from. I mean, when we were growing up, we're used to dominant teams who could any year, any given time, make a run to the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, it was all mediocre. And like back when they made the AV hire, I remember because on Pod Street, if I'm not mistaken, like I think it was on Pod Street, either that or Twitter, whatever it was, I was vocal. I was like, I think John Tortorella is the guy for the job. And like, I'm not saying that to toot my own horn. I just, knowing Tortorella and his hard style of coaching and the soft makeup of the team and the mentality there, that's the guy that's going to mold that team into a contender and into a dangerous team for that matter. Having him now at this stage of where the Flyers are at with a lot of young talent that are easily molded into what the coach wants, it is an even better position that they're in now than they were when AV took over, because he can make this team his own. Like he has the clay in these young players, and he is molding it into a very good team from top to bottom. Like, we're seeing that unfold based off of, again, expectations coming into this year, thinking this team wasn't going to be that good. And look where we're at now. We're on a 4-game win streak coming out of the All-Star break. We're in 3rd place in the Metro. Not 2nd yet, I don't think. I think we're still trailing Carolina. We're in the playoffs right now if the season ended today. So I'm all aboard the Tortorella train. I have been. Even the media interactions I think are hilarious, so I'm all
I'm still
for it.
not
I
taking
love
your
it.
questions.
Right. Yeah. Hey, that's the price you pay.
That is great, man. Yeah, no, I actually, so you brought up AV. I was actually excited about the AV hire because
Oh, yeah?
so here's my thought process. It was somebody who had been so close to the mountaintop, right? But never actually won it. I expect him to come in hungry and ready to like take a storied franchise back to the promised land. Like, I really thought that he was going to come with that motivation. He had some level of proven success, and like he never actually reached the peak. I'm like, this guy wants to get to the pinnacle. He's going to do it with a storied franchise. I thought he was going to do what Tortorella's doing. Like, I just thought that's what he was going to walk in and do. I was excited about AV, and like he was probably one. I mean, there's so many. I don't want to say. I was going to say he's probably my biggest disappointment in recent Flyers memory. But that's definitely not true. We've had so many disappointments.
You could do a whole show on biggest disappointment.
Yeah, there's been plenty of disappointment. But yeah, no, I was pumped about AV, man. I think his mom passed away. It wasn't his mom that passed away. I think that led to something. Like, so I just think, he just kind of lost the drive for it. But no, I was hoping for more out of AV. So it was disappointing that his tenure, but I think we ended up with the right guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think ultimately we ended up with the right guy in the perfect situation for him.
Yeah,
I don't think you can say enough about Torts. I mean, he's been everything and more. He did it with Columbus. He's doing pretty much the same thing, where it's a team that didn't have these expectations, and teams hate to play them. They just drive you crazy. They outwork you, and at the end of the game, they're winning somehow. And it's not like fluky. They get more chances. They control play pretty well. He's always been a coach that gets results. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole, Torts system, you got to buy in. You got to be for the team, for your guy next to you. And right now, everybody's bought in. I was a fan of the hire when it happened too, but it's been probably even better than expected so far. And I think I mentioned this before, but like, you have to give him credit for, there's not many old school coaches that can adapt well, and he's really adapted to the new athlete better. Obviously, he still bullies people around a little bit sometimes. He's gonna work you down hard.
He's who he is. Like, he can't change everything.
Right.
He still, at the end of the day, cares about you and wants to develop you as a player and a man.
There's no dinosaur like AV, right? The whole thing with like AV, it was definitely intriguing because it's a good pedigree. It's a guy that's been to the close to the top, not at the top, but like on the flip side, I look at Tortorella, who has been there, like when he won with Tampa Bay, but it's been a while since he's been back there. And like, think about it, you think back to when you were a kid and like the cool things you used to do, and like the one thing when you were a kid that was like the best thing to do, whether it's like Friday night fishing with your dad or whatever it might be, like you want to do that again because you remember how fun that was and how awesome it was. He's probably at that stage now where he's like, man, that was fun. There was no better feeling than lifting that cup up over your head. I want that again, and I want to share it with these guys and have them feel that how I felt when I did it. Like that, to me, I feel like might be more of a driving factor than not having been there before, not knowing what it takes and not knowing how it feels, and trying to convey that to the guys like, hey, let's push to get this. But like, aside from coming into a locker room like John Tortorella and saying, guys, I've been there and it is the best feeling in the world, and you all need to feel that. And in order to feel that, here's how we're going to do things,
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I'm always against like tanking and just trading away all kinds of players and just going young and youth. I always feel that's not a great way to build a team, because if you don't have somebody with that voice in the locker room that has been a winner, or knows what it takes to win, like when we acquired Pronger, I thought he was such a great addition because he'd been a winner everywhere. You need people like that when you're building teams. You can't just be a bunch of young guys that have never done anything. So to get that kind of personality and that kind of leader at the coaching level, and he can pass that on to the whole team, I think that's huge. You need people with that kind of mentality that have done it before, that can say they've done it before. So that, I think, is one of the most valuable things he brings in. Like, I agree with what you're saying there. I also think it's interesting, and I'd have to do some more research on it. I'm curious what the John Tortorella coaching tree looks like, because we talked about Shaw, and I wonder how many like current and former head coaches coach under Tortorella at some point. That would be interesting to look into, that I didn't think about until we were just talking right now.
It's a good question. Yeah, to try to look into that. But what you were saying with his leadership, I completely agree. I mean, as much as a rebuild of the roster and the organization this was, like, it was as much a bit a rebuild of culture and, you know, bringing back the Flyers that we know. And Torts is perfect for that. Like, the roster is the roster, but he's getting the most out of it. He's making it, you know, when the last couple of years, we just wasn't that fun to watch. Now I'm checking the schedule, like, oh, there's no game tonight. You know, I'm upset about it. You know, you're looking forward to the next game, and I still want them to sell at the deadline, but I'm still looking forward to the next game.
It's fun again. It's fun again.
Yeah, and he's just rebuilt. I mean, obviously, Jones and Briere and everybody's had a part of it, but he's been maybe the main factor, starting the process and reshaping it to rebuild the culture the way it needs to be built.
Yeah, and I think another key thing, and I think Jonesy and Briere are big on this too, is how much more they're getting the alumni back involved. It was under Hextall, if I remember correctly, where they were kind of pushing the alumni away, so there's some tension there. But the Flyers were always – one of the reasons the Flyers were so respected around the league amongst the players is because they knew, like, if you went and played for the Flyers, you were always a Flyer. Like, you know what I mean? They always – yeah, exactly. They always brought you in. I remember – I mean – people have varied opinions on Holmgren. I personally love Holmgren. I thought it was some of the most fun Flyers hockey, whether it was off season, during the season. Like
100%.
That man always wanted to win. And like, even if you question his moves, you're like, yo, at least he's trying to win. Like in your head, you're like, yo, you might not like this, but he's trying to win the damn game. Like, he's trying to go win the thing.
And any big name that would come on the market would be like, team's interested, probably the Flyers.
Yeah,
right.
You wouldn't even need a source. You would just be like, all right. So anybody's getting ready to write up an article about like, oh, so-and-so is a free agent. Well, I'm going to start with the Flyers are interested, and then let's go check some people.
Like, imagine if Twitter was around back then and as like thriving as it is now, like how crazy that place would be with Paul Holmgren as GM.
Oh my shit. Like when he was like interim GM for like, like 3 months, it's like, all right, baby, 90 days. What's going to happen?
Back in the saddle.
Who knows what's going to happen here? Just
Paul got his finger on the button again. I'm excited, baby.
He's like,
but
got the launch codes again.
Even more so than just like the trades and the moves he made. It's been a while since I read the. I'm pretty sure it was Nick Boynton. Went to Holmgren and Nick wrote this up in a Players Tribune article, but he talked about he was dealing with, mental health issues and where he was at. And he's like, look, he goes, I don't think I can play hockey right now. He went and talked to, Holmgren about it. And Holmgren goes, go do what you got to do. We'll help you out anyway. Like, make sure you got taken care of. Got like stuff like that. That's part of why the Flyers organization was so great and players love being here and stuff like that. I got to see if I can find that article because it just gave me even more respect for Paul Holmgren. Like, I just like the fact that he always wanted to win. He was a winner and all that and wanted to be a winner again. But like stuff like that too. So I'm glad that Briere and Jonesy are bringing that back, bringing the alumni back involved, making it that, it's a Flyers family. You even see like, the Snyder's kids and like Lauren Hart, like people are like talking more about how things have changed. So in the long term, I'm excited about the future of this. And that's not something we've been able to say for the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Right. And even in like interviews with former Flyers, like I can't tell you the last time I haven't heard an alumni preach about how the Flyers are a first-class organization. Like it's how you treat the players when they're here. I mean, Christ, Jake Voracek like kind of left, like not with his tail tucked between his legs, but like it wasn't the greatest exit. He was at the game the other night, and everybody was cheering him. They even played Springsteen in his honor, like when they showed him on the big board there, and like he had a big smile on his face. Like, how could you not? That's a cool little ode to Jake Voracek, because everybody knew he was a big Springsteen fan. Like, there's the videos and everything of him on stage, and like, I liked him. I whether he was good or bad in the locker room, like it doesn't matter anymore. Like, I like the personality. I'm saying this because, my attempt at getting unblocked was successful. I think I'm one of one to have that happen.
You put in a good word for me.
What's that?
Can you put in a good word for me? I've always been a fan.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tweet him right now. Just be like, hey, Jake, by the way, my buddy Paul here. He'll be like, done.
I'm so glad you guys are tight now. That's good. I'm glad we got that connection.
Yeah, it's huge. You get him on the show soon.
Yeah.
Right. I think that'll be my next step. You're like, hey, man, listen, you unblock me now. Want to talk?
I have a few shows that I do. I'll work around your schedule. You let me know which one works for you, okay?
Yeah, I'll plead my case when we have him on the show.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. I'll pull up the old X machine here. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. But no, since we're talking Flyers alumni, I did want to give a shout out to not Flyers alumni, but his son, Caden Primo, got his first shutout tonight. He's not just Flyers alumni shout, also local alumni to the USHL Lincoln Stars, hometown Lincoln team out here, who I also do some work with. So definitely wanted to shout him out. That's one of the games tonight, I believe. They beat the Ducks 5-0. So we can jump into a little wrap around, go full-blown national. We've done a lot of Flyers. It was all Flyers last night, about half the show Flyers now. Paul wanted to talk about Ovechkin, so I'll throw it over to him with his, Ovi takes. And, we agree. We were talking a little bit before the show that we agree with Ovi's scoring. It's better for the league.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I think it's just, it's fun to watch one of the great ones, like to live in a time where you're going to see arguably the greatest goal scorer of all time. And it seemed like he's always been the Russian machine, don't break. You just figure he was going to score 50 every year. Seemed like getting Gretzky's record at this point was just a matter of when. And then this season really fell off. I think he had, what's he up to, 14 goals now, you said?
14,
he scored in 6 straight games. So he was at 8 goals around the NHL All-Star game, which is pretty incredible. I think his shooting percentage was like 3% or something. It was never going to be that bad. He didn't completely fall off the cliff yet, but it's good to see regression coming back to the positive there and get on a little goal scoring streak. It's also, he always gets so excited when he scores, like a little kid every time. He scored like 850 goals and he goes nuts every goal. But I'm hoping the Flyers stay ahead of the Caps in the race, but I've been enjoying Ovechkin getting back on the goal scoring track.
Now, so he's not a greater player than Wayne Gretzky. So that's not what I'm trying to say when I make this comparison. But I feel like when it comes to just goal scoring, there's going to be some conversations when he retires if he doesn't beat Gretzky's all-time goal scoring record. 2 lockouts, right? Mm-hmm. 2 lockouts.
COVID.
And COVID.
What ifs?
Right? Yep. And then on top of that, not just the all-time goal scoring record, he probably would have already had the most 50 goals season record if it weren't for COVID and 2 lockouts.
Shortened seasons. Yep.
Yep. You know what I mean? He probably would already have that, but he doesn't. So there'll always be a debate, because the Gretzky guys will be like, oh, well, you can't guarantee he would have got there. It's like, dude, it's like with what he was scoring, like I said, he's not a better hockey player than Gretzky, but as a pure goal scorer, I think he's the best we've ever seen. He's the best of all time.
Yeah. It's a lot of that's subjective. Like, I mean, I could sit here and tell you that I think Travis Konechny is the best goal scorer in the game ever, and we all know that's a load of crap, but like, people are always going to have their opinions and like, yeah, you can deal in what ifs and that's fine. Like, what if my aunt had a penis? Would she be my uncle? Like, it's one of those things. And maybe that was taking it a little too far, but you guys get the gist of it.
And now we're political.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Those conversations
let's steer away from that. Regardless, dealing in what ifs is always dangerous because it's like we could obviously say Ovechkin's the greatest pure goal scorer of all time. I believe that. I think he is. Now, I also didn't grow up watching Gretzky, so it'd be doing a disservice to him to say that without being completely familiar with, having watched his games growing up. Ovechkin was readily accessible growing up in my, day and age where I was fully invested in hockey. And to see him kind of taper off, like you knew it was coming. And with any great athlete, there comes a time where they just don't dominate the sport that they play. And it sucks to see, but like it's inevitable. Father Time, no one's ever lost. No one's ever beaten Father Time. So, to be able to say though that we've seen what we've seen from Ovechkin, I think is a complete honor, being able to see the offensive production he's been able to put up. And sure, he might have broken the record by now if it weren't for the lockouts, if it wasn't for COVID. Like we could say that, but we'll never know. That's just the facts. We will never know. And, maybe he just shuts us all up and within the next year he breaks it anyway and says, you know what, screw COVID, screw the lockouts. I did it,
Yeah, I want to say Gretzky's all-time goals are 894 or 896. But so not only could we see him become the all-time goal scorer leader, the first 900 goal scorer in the history of NHL. Like, dude, there's just so much history there. Like, if he does break it, right, why would he not? You know what I mean? Even if it means coming back for one more season that, like, you're not going to be that good. And, like, you might be playing, third line minutes with, like, power play
Arena with Arizona.
like, power play specialist, you know what I mean? But, like, first 900 goal scorer, like, I mean, I feel like if you got that, like, that's something you can absolutely hang your hat on. Like, what? Like at that point, then, like, why not do it? If you get to 898 or something like that, the all-time goal scorer, I would just come back. Go ahead and put up a 15-goal season, power play specialist, knowing that's all you're doing. But go ahead and do it. Just try to put that record so far out of reach.
Yeah. Just don't turn it into a Keith Yandel retirement tour. That's all I ask.
That begs the question: why didn't Gretzky come back for 900?
Ooh,
that is true. That is. I mean,
Good
I guess
point.
that's a great example. How long was? Now I gotta pull it up. I want to say Gretzky's already at like 22 seasons.
He played a long time.
Yeah,
lots of points.
I mean, listen, his Ranger days were not great. Like, you know what I mean? As great as he was.
Right. I always compare it to like wrestlers, like because I'm a big WWE fan. I'm a dork. Like I admit it.
No, same, dude. I'm with you. Same, man.
Right.
I want to beat Chris Jericho.
Right. Like I would love to meet any of these guys, but like
you just got to know. I want to live his life.
You want to beat him. Oh
yeah. I want to beat him.
Like it's like Ric Flair's the prime example. Like you got to know when to stop. Like you got to know when your body's catching up to you and telling you that you're not going to be able to perform at the level that you once could. It's different. Obviously, because wrestling is not hockey, where hockey's not wrestling. But if your body can't perform to a level in which you're comfortable with, and that you just don't think that you can give it your all, like all fair. Like say, nope, I'm done. I throw in the towel. We're good. I'm fine with 896, whatever it might be. Like, but yeah, you got to think these athletes. They're in their mind. They're like, man, just one more season. Like one more season, I could do that. But that's what gets you in trouble. Like if you're putting up 3 goals that next year and you're at 899 entering the next and you're like, just one more. Yeah. And then it's like you blank the next year. Right. And you're getting healthy scratch because, some guy 20 years younger than you is putting up 40 goals. And it's like, well, shit, I lost my spot,
So,
Father Time's undefeated, right?
Yep. I do have it up here. So Gretzky was 79 to 99, 20 years, 894 goals. Ovechkin is 05 to 24 current season. He's at 835. I don't know if Hockey Reference is up to date as of this season right now or how up to date it is on that. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is the first lockout would have been Ovechkin's rookie year. So he's already at 20 years. Like the lockout was 04, 05. So he's probably at Gretzky's age right now when Gretzky retired. But he's 59 goals behind.
He wouldn't be at Gretzky, in my opinion, but he'd be damn close.
Yeah, I don't know. Close. He scored his actual rookie year, 50.
Yeah, like he didn't ease into it. Like he came out like on fire.
You figure that year before he's getting, I don't know, at least 30.
Right.
And then the shortened year he probably has another 20.
Could have had 900.
Probably took another 10, 15 out of it.
Yeah.
I think easily you could say he'd be there.
Because I think that lockout shortened year he had he had something like 30, 32 goals in 45 games or something like that. Like
All right,
unbelievable.
He would have scored 50 at least.
You were so the lockout short one was 2012, 2013, right? Am I right on that season? That looks like it from what I'm looking at.
Sounds right. If he had 40-something games,
32 goals in 48 games is what he had in 2012, 2013. His rookie year, he had 52.
Oh my God.
So you have to think 04. I think Paul's actually low on 30 goals. I feel like 30 goals is definitely a safe bet, but like 52 at 19 as opposed to 18, man, like he would have been if it weren't for the lockout, COVID, and then COVID was 2019, 2020 was the COVID short one, right?
Yep.
Or was that sounds right?
Yes, I believe so.
Because it was March 2020 was when everything popped off.
Yep. Yeah, because that was literally a week before my son was born and the world shut down and we're like, nope, can't come over. We might die.
So in 2019, 2020, he had 48 goals in 68. So that's where I say like that he would have had the 50, like he would have had another 50 goal season right there. You know what I mean? So he probably would have already broken Gretzky's 50 goals seasons record.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
but again,
the other one with the what if is Yager, right? With him playing overseas for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like 3 seasons overseas.
Oh yeah, and he's still over there playing. What is he, 50 now?
Yeah, he is.
Unbelievable. Like bring him back.
I think he's
take him on the
50.
Flyers. Yeah, I'd take him on the Flyers at this point. Why the hell not? God, I miss that man. I loved him.
He could play 4 minutes like Ollie Lixill, right?
Yeah, if Lixill can do it, Christ, the Yager could, and you'd probably get better output.
Again, power play specialist. Just put him out there.
Right.
Like
we could use it. We could absolutely use it.
Don't play defense. Don't back check. I don't care. Just wait at the blue line.
Do your job. Put the puck in the net.
Yeah, that's all we need.
You know what you're here for.
Right. No, we don't need 200 feet player anymore. Hextall's gone.
Yeah.
Score. Throw it on net.
Go do what you're good at. Yeah, man. No, I have to pull up. So actually, Ovi's 38 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see what Gretzky was when he retired.
I want to say he was in his 40s, but I could be wrong.
No, he was 38.
Oh.
Gretzky's last year in the league was 99, 38 years old, 70 games, 9 goals. But here's the difference, right? God, man, this like
62 points though.
53. 53 assists, 62 points.
Yeah.
But here's the difference, though, right? As far as goal scoring goes, like his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. His last 7 seasons didn't have more than 25 goals, and he had 3 seasons that were 11 or less. Like Ovi just put up, I think, 42 last year.
Yeah. It came in bunches for him.
Yeah. 42.
It's also a different time.
Yeah.
Like it was easier to score back then. You could debate me on that, sure. But like you're talking different eras in hockey. Like look at the save percentages of the goalies back then. Like a .90 is a fucking elite goalie,
Right.
And Ovi's 2 years removed from his most recent 50-goal season. Like, I know he looks bad right now because he only has the 14 that we're talking about, but in the 2 previous years, he put up 92 combined goals. Like the man, like again, Father Time's undefeated, but it's not like there was any signs that he was slowing down. Like he was still doing what he's been doing.
Oh yeah. And it's crazy looking at him too, because like he's all gray essentially. Like he's all gray. You're looking at him, you're like, damn, dude, he's got to be at least in his 40s. But no, like he's only 38. And not saying like by sports terms, like 38, yeah, you're in the twilight years. But I mean, Christ, man, Paul pointed it out. These past how many games since the All-Star break, like he's on a heater right now. Like ride that. Hopefully he can put up 20 more by the end of the season. Get him even closer to the record.
Yeah, I think the one that he does have. Go, Paul.
He's still leading the team in points. Like he hasn't completely fallen off. I think a lot of it was shooting percentage luck. He's on a 6-game streak and his shooting percentage is up to 8.2%, which his career average is around like 14-15%.
That was an answer with the career average. Well, yeah.
Right. Yeah, so he's still pretty significantly lower than that. He's got 37 points, 49 games. So I don't think he's like about to fall off the cliff. I don't know if we're ever going to see 50 again, but I think he's still got another year or two of decent goal scoring in him. Hopefully he keeps going a little bit.
Yeah, I think the 50 goal seasons record is out of his reach now. I think he has the 45 goal season record though. I think that's his. But I do think the all-time goal scoring record is still within reach. I mean, especially if he has a crazy second half of this season, like the way he started out coming out recently. But yeah, man, like that's something that we'll be watching not this season, but potentially next season. Like, how cool would that be? The watch for 900.
Be better than when Sosa and Maguire were chasing Maris.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah, that was a great time in sports, man.
Right. Because, I mean, you had Sosa and Maguire, and then who was it? Barry Bonds, too, I think. Like, everybody forgets about Barry Bonds. I think he passed 62 as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought Bonds may have been
Bonds
later,
was a different year, but I think that same year, like, there was a third.
Griffey was in it for a while that year, but I don't think he passed it. But Griffey was in it for a while, and then he fell off a little bit. But I had to see what Griffey's final was. But yeah, Sosa and Maguire were going strong. They ended up being the final two. Yeah, that was wild.
And the fact that Maguire passed the record in a game against the Cubs with Sosa, like, just you couldn't write something better than that. Like, that's poetry. I was gonna say poetic. It's poetry. It's poetry, man.
No, that's another interesting conversation. Like, I think, what records will never be broken. I think both the Gretzky's will never be broken, the assists and the points record. The only one that has a shot is going to be it's going to be Ovi beating his goals record.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, but there's some
that I think is a very unlikely, but Austin Matthews down the road could maybe get in there.
I don't like him.
I don't like him.
Great player. I just
don't
like
see
him.
it happening. But because the thing is, I think Matthews has the talent, but the thing that's so hard too is the longevity of staying healthy all that time. And Ovechkin just, like I said, Russian machine don't break. Continued to, he would never get hurt. Play this full
don't
season.
Jinx it now, Paul. Listen. We just talked about how tentative these games are. Right? Every single one over the next 2.5 seasons. All right.
They don't make them like Ovi anymore.
The thing that I hated for not that I hate about Matthews, like I don't have any real issues with him, but when he got drafted, if I remember correctly, the Coyotes had the worst record in the league and should have ended up with the number 1 overall pick, but they got Patrick Kane like we did, where Kane ends up with the Blackhawks. We end up with JVR.
We got JVR.
Yeah, so they got Patrick Kane and ended up falling to 3, I think. I don't remember who they picked, but I'm like, dude, I'm a fan of, I want to see everybody enjoy this game. And hockey in Arizona has failed overall. I think that's, it's almost an understatement at this point. They're playing in a 5,000 seat college arena right now. They can't even get a stadium. Like, it's not good. But could you imagine the different trajectory of that franchise if a hometown kid goes first overall and then is a stud, a superstar in the league? Like, how different could that franchise be? How many more hockey fans could there be in Arizona right now? No, he went to Toronto. Like,
Toronto. They wouldn't be playing in Mullet Arena.
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like, how different? So when people say like they think things are rigged in professional sports, I'm like, listen, if there was one thing that could have been rigged, like it would have been this. If Gary Bettman, because he was the Sunbelt expansion guy, these are his expansions. So like, if Gary Bettman could have put Austin Matthews,
owner of the Coyotes.
Yeah, I think the league was actually, they were running the Coyotes right now. So at the time of that draft, but like if he could have put Austin Matthews in an Arizona Coyote sweater, like he would have done that. But man, like, that's the only thing I didn't like about Austin. I mean, again, it's not him. It's just the way that shook out. I'm like, he's a Maple Leaf. Like, get the hell out of here.
Right. I also think he's a punk, but whatever.
He's the heel.
Well, yeah, he's the heel. I mean, you think about what was it last year, the game against Toronto for the Flyers. Konechny went after him because he pulled some shit, and in came, I think it was Giordano. Was it Giordano or it was another defenseman?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, Giordano just started pummeling Konechny, and Matthews just skated away. I'm like, no. I'm like, you need to beat the shit out of that guy for the shit that he pulled. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you got to answer to your actions. There's got to be consequences. Now, we can sit here and talk about Morgan Riley and really Greg, but
No.
God, dude.
I'm not gonna lie.
we could get into that.
The slapper into the empty net was awesome. I loved it. I thought that was great. I thought it was incredible.
If you see, there's a photo out there, and anybody listening right now, please look it up because it's worth it. There, he's in the windup, and he's got this just shit-eating grin on his face, like he knows exactly what he's doing. I'm like, good for you, buddy.
I had zero issue with either side of it. Like, I think it's funny that he took the slap shot in there. It's good people to look at hockey, talk about hockey. It's good for the game. And, if somebody has a problem with it, don't go down the goal and leave an empty net. But at the same time,
right,
I would want my team to react the way Morgan Riley acted.
Yeah.
And you don't want to necessarily cross check to the face. It'd be better if he fights them. But either way, you want a reaction, and I really don't have an issue with either side of the battle.
Yeah, don't cross check in the head, but it definitely deserves a response.
I think that's the thing people are. Go ahead, Paul. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, if he doesn't respond, then you have everybody rightfully questioning the heart of the team, and that's been the storyline with Toronto forever. He probably went over the line a little bit, but you want him to react on that. At the same time, I know the other guys are gonna have an issue, like the older guys are gonna have an issue with Ridley Gregg, but I thought it was funny too.
That's why you bring in a guy like Ryan Reeves, right?
He got crushed tonight on a hit.
I love it. I loved seeing that. What, Nathan Walker? Not Nathan Walker. Nathan Walker, 5'9".
I think
Yeah. Oh, it reminded me when was it Gerby took Sanheim down and just pummeled him. Oh, that was great.
Gerby's a feisty little dude.
Right. But you bring up a good point. Like I was okay with the reaction because a clapper into the empty net, like, okay, buddy, we get it. Showboat, but the cross check was completely unnecessary. Drop the mitts, drop them. Just literally, it doesn't even matter if he sees you drop the mitts, drop them, grab them, start fucking hitting them. It's, I don't know. The cross check rubbed me the wrong way, like a good bit. I was kind of like, that was unnecessary, but the reaction itself, like it deems a reaction. You definitely need a reaction from Toronto there.
Did you guys see the video? As we were talking about this, it made me think of a tweet that the Morning Skate put out. This is an older game. I don't even know what game it is. It's funny because it's ESPN and it says Ottawa in the scoreboard, OTT. Then underneath of it, it says Caps, not like Washington. So I don't know what's going on with that, but they posted this video and it's an empty net goal. There's 25 seconds left. The Caps player stops in front of the crease and just waits for 5 seconds and waves to the crowd before he slaps it in there. I'll quote tweet it and tag you guys so you can see it.
Yeah, I like that though. Like the showboating, I'm a fan of that. I think it's hilarious because Christ, what's the rebuttal? Like, hey, stop the guy from skating 200 feet and putting it into an empty net. There's a reason you pull the goalie. The risk,
right.
The reward.
Don't be losing.
So exactly, score more goals. Simple.
Don't be losing. I love that. Yeah, so I tagged you guys in and see if you want to take a look at this sometime. Yeah, no, I saw that earlier today. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm like, who even cares about the slap shot then? This guy stopped, waited, and waved to the crowd before he knocked in an empty net goal.
Oh, he didn't just he literally stood there.
Did you see the video? I think it was a minor league game or something. The guy popped the water bottle off and then took a sip of the water bottle.
Yes. Awesome.
And then he immediately goes towards his bench and goes, I know what's happening, and skates to the penalty box. The linesman doesn't even escort him. He's just like, yeah, I know.
That was incredible.
If that ever happened in an NHL game, it would be unbelievable.
Top notch, Selly. That was great. That was absolutely great.
Yeah, I love stuff like that.
Right.
I love stuff like that because, I feel like hockey players don't show enough emotion. They're not as animated at times, and I feel like it's good for the sport. Show some emotion. Who? I hate this the code or the unwritten rules. Forget that stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just go have fun. Give people a reason to talk. Like Paul said, people are talking about hockey. Let's talk hockey. You know what I mean?
Right. I'm like, I'll say all this right now, but then like I'll turn around during baseball season and be like, like F your bat flips. I think that's stupid. I'm
Oh, I
like,
love that flip.
it drives me nuts. I don't know why. Like, I'm such an old schooler when it comes to baseball, but like for hockey, I'm just like, yeah, dude, have fun. Like, this is great. But like baseball, larger scale, like it's America's pastime. With hockey, it's like, you got to grow the game or else it's going to suffer. And everybody wants to enjoy a good product. So like, yeah, show your true colors, have some fun with it, grow the game because Christ, man, as much as I love baseball, I played it growing up all the way through to high school. Like it's a boring sport. Like it can be a very boring sport. And with hockey, it's constant action, and to have guys that are like, yeah, we're playing a 200-foot game, we're putting pucks on net, getting pucks deep, blah, blah, blah. Like that's boring as shit. Like it's boring. Tell me, like, yeah, man, that guy drove one into the corner, and I just thought, I'm gonna rail him. I'm just gonna hit him right up against the boards. I'm gonna end his day. That's what I want to hear.
So I'll definitely be honest. I'm a casual baseball fan, like 100%. Didn't they just institute the rules of this past season that in extra innings a runner starts on second?
Yes, I think it was this past season. Yeah,
I think 2 seasons ago that started.
2 seasons ago. Okay, so I bring that up because I've been waiting for a time to bring up what I think the NHL should do for overtime. Because one, I hate overtime loss point. And it's the stupidest thing. I hate that one game can be worth 2 points, other games are worth 3. I personally would get rid of all point systems. All that's the system just do wins and losses. Whatever, that's fine though. People disagree. But the big problem everybody has is they hate the shootout to end the game. Like they don't want the shootout, right? So I say you get rid of the 3-on-3 overtime. You get rid of the shootout. What you do is the road team gets to start on a 5-on-4 power play, right? If they score, home team gets a chance to match. If they don't score, game over. And you go back and forth like college fucking football.
You're going like college rules. Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to say the F word. I made it 52 minutes without saying the F word.
I already said it. I'm sorry. I gotta watch that.
But once we start going live on 102.9, we can't say the F word. And I'm trying to train myself to not do it.
Is that the only word we can't say?
For the most part, yeah, you can say pretty much anything.
Just don't be belligerent. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so like when we're on there, like I've done the Martinez and Company show multiple times, and like shit, ass, like other stuff you can say out there. But yeah, definitely like
they're talking about people's aunts and uncles.
Yeah, let's not do that either.
I'll curb that one. I'll curb that.
We'll avoid that one too. But yeah, no, but I'm like, A, I think it'll be more entertaining. I'm like, we eliminate the overtime loss point, and then just alternating power plays until one team can't match. Like that's how you do it.
We should have a show on rule ideas.
There you go. Talk to Dave.
I'm talking about rule ideas.
Please present more. We got 7 minutes left, Paul. Tell me more of your ideas. Let me know what you think of my power play idea first, and then go ahead, throw them out there. This is stuff I think about all the time. So I'm like, I hate overtime loss point, and I hate the shootout. So let's do something different.
Give me one-on-one.
My only issue with your, I think it's fun. It's a fun idea. My only issue is I love 3-on-3. So I want more 3-on-3. But if maybe if you don't want to end it in a tie or a shootout, maybe you get to after 5-on-5 and then you go to the power play idea.
Okay.
All right. So you still do the 3-on-3. You do a 5-minute 3-on-3.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
And then instead of going to the shootout, then you go to power plays.
Yeah.
All right, that could be interesting. I also thought that you could just be it simpler and just extend it to a 10-minute 3-on-3 because there's like a stat that says that so many games that there's so many minutes, like there's bound to like be a goal scored, especially at that level. So it's like we could probably eliminate the shootout altogether, basically. Like still keep the shootout, but if we absolutely have to, but do a 10-minute 3-on-3, and all of a sudden we cut the amount of shootouts down by like 60%.
Right.
I think they don't want to do it because of player safety, but I think most of the players have like said that they would prefer that 10-minute method. So
I'm in favor. Just a whole nother period of 3-on-3, like 20 minutes, and then play till there's a winner. I don't want ties. I don't want shootouts. It's a skills competition, and like they're entertaining. You get some fun goals, like years ago when Giroux had the goal where he skated it to the line and flipped it up over the goalie. Like you get some awesome highlight reel stuff, but it's a skills competition. I want the best team to win the game. And by doing so 3-on-3, like It's action-packed, nonstop. You're on the edge of your seat for the entire overtime period when it's 3-on-3. Send it to 20 minutes. If you don't have a winner at the end of 20 minutes, play another 20. Play it because, God, I'll never get tired. I'll never get tired of 3-on-3 hockey.
Can we agree we can get rid of the overtime loss point and just go to wins and losses? Can we do that?
It should be. I think it should be the 3-2-1 thing, where like the 3 points for regulation win or overtime win, 2 for.
I like that.
That would be my second choice. I'll be honest with you. I personally think wins and losses is the better way to go. But if we're going to have a point system, every game should be able to be worth the equivalent amount of points. There's no reason one game should be worth 3 and one 100%. Is worth 2. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mean, maybe not the only reason, but I feel like they don't want it because of it keeps teams. The current system keeps teams in the playoff hunt longer. So you get more competition down the stretch. Right.
The other one would put you.
Hold on. Breaking news.
Oh, here we go.
Just for me personally, nothing actually exciting for anything sports related. But the Cuz just followed me on Twitter. Anthony Gargano.
Yeah.
Breaking. Yeah. I thought it was, you know, they make spam accounts and stuff like that. Like, you know, they'll be a spam account that's supposed to be somebody's name. I thought it was the fake one. I saw it. I'm like, Anthony Gargano. I'm like, that's no way that's legit, right? And I opened it up, man. He only follows 1,500 people. I'm one of them. I'm excited now.
All
there you go, man.
Nice.
Sorry,
breaking news. Connor McDavid's got a 600th assist.
All right, we are winding down. Couple minutes left in the show. Soapbox time. Derek, you were on last night and had a soapbox, so I'll give you a few seconds to gather yourself here, so Paul can go first and get up there.
Man, I never have anything for this. I'll continue with the Ovi thing and just say I feel like I'm getting better at appreciating greatness of players. I've always respected Crosby's game, but I've never really didn't fully appreciate it because I was growing up as the Penguins. Just wasn't going to allow myself to do that. Still respect the hell out of his game, but Ovechkin and then crossing sports, watching Mahomes the other day. It's just cool to see some of these like guys. And Mahomes already, he's 28 years old. He's probably already going to be like a top 5 quarterback of all time. And he just like, I was watching, it just goes back to a Dan Campbell fourth down stuff. When the Niners kicked the field goal there in overtime, as in not having a horse in the race this time, just watching, I was like, that's not enough. You got Mahomes on the other side, it's over. And it's like same feeling you got with Brady. And it's just like, it's cool to see these all-time greats do their job and just be so good at it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. As I've gotten older, I feel the same way. Just appreciate greatness. All right, Derek, over to you, bro.
All right. So, I mean, I'll get a little bit more serious. Past couple of days, there was a podcast that made some interesting and, I mean, downright crappy comments in regards to the Line A situation. It was a Columbus Blue Jackets podcast. For those of you that might not be familiar, the guy referred to it as a Remington retirement. Pretty vulgar, in my opinion. Just be careful what you say. I mean, we all have a platform here. You know, me, Dave, Paul. This is a platform. You know, whether it's one person listening, whether it's 1,000 people listening, someone is listening, and that person could be going through something you don't know. Just be careful what you say. You know, we can joke around, have a good time, but at the end of the day, what you say could affect people. And just, you know, be responsible. Just take responsibility for your actions too. They did issue an apology. I'm glad that they did. Just, you know, make sure you're being careful with what you say and the context too.
100%, man. That's such a great message right there. It rings personally for me. You guys know my story. I'm not going to put everything out there, but you guys know what I've gone through in the last couple of years ago. So, no, that's awesome, man. 100%. I'm going to shout out the billet families that host young players that, you know, they're away from their parents, away from their families, and you need to step in and do a job. This is my first time being a billet family. I absolutely love it. It's great. I love the player I have here. Gotten to know a new community, but it's the minor league hockey and development hockey programs. They're a unique community in and of themselves, and there's a lot of great people there doing a lot of great work. So that being said, thanks to the High and Wide family for tuning in. Ed Flyers HW, Pod Street Bullies, Time I Skates, and the listeners on 102.9 The Game. Thanks so much.